Hey, it's Chanel and welcome to the Goodreads Choice Awards for 2024. So in this vlog, what I'm planning on doing is reading the finalists. So I decided to wait until the second round. I will give you my opinions, I will tell you who I am voting for, and I will tell you who I think will win. I'm also going to read at least 3 books from some of the categories as well. So this is also going to be a little bit of a reading vlog. But without much further ado, let's get into it. So the final round for voting has started, so let's click into it. Maybe this angle is better. All right, let's have a look. I'm interested to see. So we're going to start with fiction. Okay, so favorite fiction, we have Leanne Moriarty, Here One Moment. I have not read this book. Welcome to the Hunamdong Bookshop by Huang Bo Rome. I also have not read this book. We have Marta by Kaveh Akbar, which I have not read. I'm doing great. But I've heard a lot about it and people seem to enjoy it. I Hope This Finds You Well by Natalie Sue. I have read that and I enjoyed it. I believe that was a 4-star read for me. We have Blue Sisters by Coco Mellows, which I also read, and I think I gave that a 3 stars. Ellen Hildebrand, Swan Song. I haven't read it. I have tried Ellen Hildebrand before and they're just not an author for me. The Wedding People by Alison S. Park. So I gave that a 4.5 stars. That was fantastic. Margot's Got Money Troubles by Ruthie Thorpe. Have also read that. That was, I think, another 4-star read from me. We have Good Material by Dolly Alderton. Haven't read it. And Sally Rooney's Intermezzo. Haven't read. I've read one Sally Rooney and I absolutely hated it. I gave it a 1 star. I think it was a Normal People. So I'm going to start with who I am voting for. I'm voting for The Wedding People because that's a 4.5 star read for me and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Who do I think will win? At the end of the day, I feel like a lot of this is a popularity contest. So it would be probably based on which book has the most ratings, because that means the most people have read it. And if majority of those people liked that book, they're going to vote for whatever they've read at the end of the day. Or they're going to vote for an author they really love and just want to back. So for me, I feel like Sally Rooney's probably going to win, or Dolly Alderton, because they have a big fan base. Okay, and the thing with Goodreads is, I would be interested to know what the gender demographic of Goodreads is, because I feel like it's predominantly women who use Goodreads and vote and review books. And I feel like that would sway the votes depending on what is the majority gender that participates in the Goodreads Choice Awards, because my opinion would change based on that, because I think that does affect which books get voted for. I'm going to say that probably Sally Rooney would win based on fan base. Otherwise, the books that probably should win, I'm guessing The Wedding People has been very popular, but I don't think a lot of people have read it. It is more of the newer ones. Marta, I think, was shortlisted or won something or other. So probably Marta for the writing. I'm assuming that's making an assumption. But yeah, I think I'm going to place my bet on Sally Rooney Intermezzo, even though it just came out. Oh, I might regret that. I'm voting for The Wedding People. None of the other books in that category that I haven't read interest me whatsoever, so I'm not going to be choosing any books from there to read. Next up, we have favorite historical fiction. I don't really like historical fiction. I'm already putting that out there. I don't actually enjoy it a lot, so I'm not expecting to have read any of these. So we've got The Seventh Veil of Salome by Silvia Moreno Garcia. I've read some of her work and enjoyed it. Husbands and Lovers, Beatrice Williams, no idea. James by Percival Everett was shortlisted, I think, for the Booker Prize, and based on all of the booktubers I watched that were talking about those books, that should have been the winner. We have The Book Lover's Library by Magdalene Martin, never heard of it. The Bride Club, Kate Quinn, likewise. By any other name, Jodi Picoult. I've seen a lot of her books in like Airbnbs and that kind of thing. Never. I probably have read one of her books back in the day, but obviously wasn't an author I decided to keep on with. Anita de Monte Laughs Last by Xochitl Gonzalez. I'm sorry for butchering that. Don't know what that is. It looks interesting. It looks sapphic. Can you say a book looks sapphic? Because it does. Kristen Hanna, The Women, my God. So I did attempt this via audiobook. I just was not interested. I'm not really interested in war. World War I, World War II, Vietnam War. I just don't like reading about those events and periods in time. That is a massive book. So I DNF'd that one. We've got The Frozen River by Ariel Lohan, I haven't heard of it, and The Lion Women of Tehran by Marjan Kamali, and I have read The Stationery Shop by them in the past, a long time ago. Who do I think is going to win? So for me, I'm not voting in this round. I haven't read any of these books. I think Kristen Hanna, The Women, is going to win. Who do I think should win? Probably James by Percival Everett. But I'm going to cast my vote with Kristen Hanna, The Women. So let me go to the next section, which is mystery thriller. Okay, so I should have read some of these. I'm starting to get into mysteries and thrillers. This was the first year, literally. I dipped my toe in that flicky dicky pool. So we've got The Guard of the Woods by Liz Moore. So this is definitely a historical mystery. I gave it 3 stars. I think it was like a 3.25. It was a chunky, dense book. It was fine. The cover though, the cover got everybody, I think. I think everybody loved it. And that pink paint drip also was a bit misleading. I think we all believed there was going to be a little bit of a paranormal aspect in there because of the paint drip. There wasn't. Richard Osman, We Solve Murders. They're super popular. I tried one of his books. Wasn't for me. How to Solve Your Own Murder by Kristen Perrin. Haven't read it, haven't heard of it. First Liar Wins, Ashley Alston. Seen lots of people talking about it. Midnight Feast, Lucy Foley. Same thing. The Teacher, Frida McFadden. I've tried her stuff. It's fine. It's all like 3 stars for me, but I know Frida McFadden, who's also got a second one in here, The Boyfriend. Very popular, super popular. So she could win it for the fan base. But I don't know if any of these 2 books are good enough for her to win. And I don't think there should be, that hair is going to annoy me. I need to fix it. I don't think that authors should have 2 books in a category. I think you should limit it to 1 per author. That's my opinion. All the Colours of the Dark by Chris Whitaker. I have heard about this. I think once again, it's more of a mystery, historical one. Lots of people saying it's fantastic. It's very well done, but I don't think enough people have read it to vote for it. Listen for the Lie, Amy Tintera. Also heard about that, was very popular, as was Home is Where the Bodies Are by Geneva Rose. So I haven't, I've read God of the Woods. I guess that's who I'm voting for. Am I going to vote for it? I was trying to decide whether I only vote for books that I have rated 4 stars and above, or I just vote for whatever books I have read, because it's a 3-star book for me. So therefore I don't think it should win. What do you reckon, guys? Do you just vote, if there's a category and you've only read one of those books, would you vote for that one book because that's what you read? Or would you just abstain from voting? I think I am going to abstain because I just don't feel right voting for a book that was 3 stars. Who I think is going to win? I think Frida's got a lot of fans, but once again, there's 2 there too, so that will split the fan base because I have to vote for one or the other. So I don't think she actually is going to win this one. First Liar Wins, heard a lot about it. Don't know what people have been rating it though. Same with Listen for the Lie. I don't know, I'm actually just going to give it to All the Colours of the Dark or Richard Osman because they're super popular. Oh, who am I going to go for? I'm just going to go for All the Colours of the Dark. That's who I'm going to say is going to win this. That might not be the popular vote though. Next we're up to romance. All right, let's see. So this is contemporary romance. Majority of my romance comes from fantasy and horror. So here we've got Emily Henry, Funny Story. That was a 4.5-star read for me. King of Sloth, Anna Huang. I tried one of those books. They're not for me. I think they're like their billionaire a-hole romances. Can't remember. Play Along, Liz Tomford. Heard about it. Not interested. Leather and Lark by Bryn Weaver. It's the second in the series. I read Butcher and Blackbird. It's a dark romance. Wasn't my jam. It is super popular though. Bride by Ali Hazelwood should not be in the romance category. That should be Romantasy. It is about a vampire and a werewolf. Why is I here amongst the normal people? Yeah, no, that shouldn't be here. I'm side-eyeing you, Goodreads. Why is that in romance? My God. Oh, that sucks for the other romance people. But I don't think Ali and Bride have enough pull. Oh no, we'll say. Christina Lauren, The Paradise Problem. Haven't read it. Read from them before. Don't like their stuff. That's 2 people. Abby Jimenez, Just for the Summer, is going to get my vote. That was a 4.5-star romance for me. I'm a massive Abby Jimenez stan. It was probably my least favorite no, it wasn't. I think I liked Part of Your World a bit less. That's getting my vote regardless. This Summer Will Be Different, Carly Fortune. Don't like their stuff. The Cinnamon Bun Bookstore by Laurie Gilmore. My God, yeah, these are going off, but I tried and DNF'd. Just not my style. Wild Love by Elsie Silver was the same situation. I did not like it. I didn't like it at all. but they're massive. So this is a hard one to choose who I think is actually going to win, because a lot of booktubers on booktube are booktube girlies as well. So I hear about all of these books. And I know on Goodreads, if you click on these books, they're going to have hundreds of thousands of ratings, because once again, I feel like women use Goodreads the most. And I know women tend to like romance more than men and read more romance as a genre itself. I'm voting for Abby. I know that Emily Henry is also very massive. I think Emily Henry does beat out Abby, but people go nuts over Wild Love by Elsie Silver. They also go nuts over Ali, but like I said, that's a bit weird putting that one in here. If that was one of her other romances, I'm sure that would have won. I don't think Leather and Lark and King of Sloth and Play Along are going to do it. It's like a lot of people have read Cinnamon Bun Bookstore, but no one's raved about it. So for me, I think people are either going to vote for Funny Story or Wild Love. I should have done research. So I've done no research. I haven't checked any of these books out to see how many ratings they have, what their score is, or which authors have won previous years, because I felt like that would, I don't want to say give me an advantage, but a data analysis would, I think, improve probability and odds. Okay. And I thought, let's just do this year's one for fun, and next year I'll get real serious with it. I'm going to say that Wild Love might win. I really would have done it based on who had more ratings and a higher score between the two of them, but I think one or the other. I've just got to place my vote for Abby, which I have done. All right, next we're going to Romantasy. So I'm expected I would have read a decent amount of these, unless they're TikTok Romantasies. Okay, so we've got Sarah J Maas, House of Flame and Shadow. She's massive. I opted out of that series. I read the first one. It did nothing for me. Akamaf is the only series of hers I actually like. So I opted out, but I know people love her. She's got her stands. They could pull her through. When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker. This went massive as well. And I read this and I didn't like it. I did not like it. So I didn't get it. Phantasma, I've heard of. This has just come out though. I don't think it's had enough time to win, but I might read it. It's by Kaylee Smith. I might read it. Out of curiosity. It's like one of those things where when a book becomes massive, you just want to be part of the zeitgeist, and I want to be part of the discourse. So I do want to see what it's like. So I might put that on my possible books to read for this one. Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst. I read that, rated at 4 stars. It's a cozy. I would consider this more fantasy than romantasy. I don't think it centered on the romance enough for it to be considered romantasy. So that's my opinion for this one. That should have just been placed in the fantasy category. It's definitely not going to win. Beautiful cover though. I think everybody went gaga over that. Fate Inked in Blood by Danielle L. Jensen. I did read and I liked that. I think it was a 4 to 4.5 star read for me. I know not a lot of people did, but I am a bit of a sucker for anything that's Norse mythology, so that will improve my rating just because it's based on that. Apprentice to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Mera. I read the first one and DNF'd it. Not my style. A Touch of Chaos by Scarlett St. Clair. I know it. I've read some of her stuff before. It's not for me. Quicksilver by Callie Hart. Okay, so this is also massive right now, but it's also come out more recently. So I think it just hasn't had enough time to rack up the reads. But people going nuts. This is a TikTok romantasy. These TikTok romantasies are going to be the ones that are probably going to win, based on the sheer volume of people who've read it. Zodiac Academy, Restless Stars by Carolyn Peckham and Suzanne Valenti. I tried, hated it, despised, loathed. It was bully romance, just barf worthy, could not stand it, did not get the hype. This book might win. I think it might win because people go nuts about it. It's got a cult following. And then you've got Born of Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I like her stuff. I haven't read this one, but she's decent. I think she's a bit more on the spicy side as well. Who am I voting for? A Fate Inked in Blood. That was my highest rated book out of these romantasies. Who do I think will win? It's Sarah J Maas based on Stans. When the Moon Hatched, possibly. Quicksilver, possibly. Zodiac Academy, possibly. Like I said, Fantasma has not been out long enough. So I think it's going to be Zodiac Academy or Sarah J Maas. Those are my top two. I'm going to go with Zodiac Academy. I'm going to vote for Fate Inked in Blood because I did like that one. Yeah, okay. Now we're going to fantasy. I should have read almost all of these out of 500-600 books I've read this year. So we've got The Book of Doors by Gareth Brown. So much potential. This had so much potential, and there were a lot of things I did like about it, but there was a lot of weird, icky stuff, especially to do with the representation of women that I didn't like, and the idiocy of the main character's choices. So I think I ended up giving it overall like a 3-ish, I think. So I'm not voting for that. We've got The Blackbird Oracle by Deborah Harkness, which is like the 5th in a series. I have not read that series. I don't know anything about it. Leigh Bardugo, The Familiar. I chose not to read it. From what I've heard, fans of hers weren't as impressed with this one, so I don't think it's going to get the votes. The Lost Story by Meg Schaffer. I read her other book, The Wishing Tree, whatever, Wishing Game, I think, and hated it. I did not like the main character, the teacher, and felt she overstepped majorly. So I don't want to read any more of her stuff. It's turned me off the author completely. I know people liked it. I don't think it's got enough to win. Empire of the Damned by Jay Kristoff. I tried Jay Kristoff's book, didn't like it, but I know they also have a decent fan base, but I don't think it's enough for the awards. Emily Wilde's Map of the Other Lands. I read that. It was fine. It was fine. A lot of people love it. Possibly. It could win possibly. 5 Broken Blades by May Corland. I DNF this. This was a mess. It was a mess. Too many POVs. Didn't care about any of them. TJ Klune, Somewhere Beyond the Sea. I read some of their stuff and thought it was fine. I think Lives of the Puppets, I can't remember what it was called. I think I gave that the highest rating out of the ones I've read of theirs. I don't think it's got enough to win. The Foxwife by Youngzi Chu. I haven't read it, and I don't know. I don't think so at all though. And The Tainted Cup by Robert Jackson Bennett. I read it and I didn't like it. It was fine. I think I gave it 3 stars. Once again, it had potential. It didn't reach the potential for me, so I didn't see the appeal, but that could also win. So who do I think is going to get the votes? Who am I voting for? Out of these ones, Map of the Other Lands is getting my vote. Who do I think is going to win? Oh, this is tough. Oh, I wish I had chosen to do the actual check the ratings and the scores for this one, so I could do a more educated guess. But I think Emily Wilde could win. Tainted Cup could win. Book of Doors, The Familiar, and I don't think Somewhere Beyond the Sea. It hasn't been out long enough. It hasn't been out long enough. No, I'm voting for Emily. So I'm going to say Emily's going to win, but otherwise I'd probably say Tainted Cup. But we're going to go for Emily for both my vote and the popular vote. Next up, Sci-Fi. Hopefully I've read a lot of these. What have we got? Mercy of the Gods by James S.A. Corey. I started this. I couldn't get into it. I DNF'd it. I Cheerfully Refuse by Leif Enger. I haven't read it. I do like the cover. I don't think it's going to win. Orbital by Samantha Harvey won the Booker Prize. It's got beautiful covers. It's got very, very pretty writing. It was just too slow and languid and just head-based for me. I got bored and I did DNF it. I don't think it's going to win though, in terms of Goodreads. And I already won a prize. I don't think Goodreads gives a shit about that. Annie Bot by Sierra Greer. I didn't like it. It rubbed me the wrong way, but I know a lot of people went nuts for this, and I think it has a high chance of women. Well, I think a lot of women have read it. I think it has a high chance of winning. The Family Experiment by John Mars is not sci-fi. I wouldn't classify that as sci-fi. That is definitely more thriller, and I think that was the issue with the sci-fi first round. There were a lot of like dystopian and that stuff in here that I just didn't feel was sci-fi enough to be in sci-fi. That was just my personal opinion with that. I was like, this shouldn't be in this category. The Stardust Grail by Yumi Kitasai. Stunning cover. I read their other book and I DNF'd it. Just wasn't my style. I don't think it's going to win. Douglas Preston Extinction. I don't think it's got enough readers to win. Moon of the Turning Leaves by Welbashig Rice. I am definitely going to read the first one of this. It sounds interesting to me, but this is the second. I don't think it's going to win. The Other Valley by Scott Alexander Howard. I DNF'd it. Was so slow. It was quite boring. It was an interesting idea. I just didn't execute it well, and I gave it a decent shot. No, it's not going to win. Ministry of Time by Kayleen Bradley. Probably going to win. Actually, more than Annie Bot. I think that one definitely is going to win. That sounded so amazing. I ended up putting it up for my Wild Ones book club. It won. I read it and was just like, what? I ended up giving, I think I gave it 3 stars. I ended up being very disappointed in the execution of it and the characters and the way the story ended up going. It didn't impress me much. Am I going to vote for it though? I definitely liked it more than Annie Bot. Oh my God, this is that thing. I might leave that till later and contemplate if I will vote for books that are under 4 stars. I definitely think that is going to win this category. Next up, we have horror, which I've just started again to this year. So I'm still a horror newbie. The Eyes Are the Best Part, Monica Kim, read that, gave it 3 stars. It was fine. It was kind of fun. Stephen King, You Like It Darker. I know Stephen King is a behemoth in this genre. I am going to get into him. I've got some of his books in my recommended jar, so I am planning to try good old Stephen out. He could win based on fan size. Diavola by Jennifer Thorne. Cool cover. I don't think it's going to win based on all the reviews I've heard of it. Haven't read it. Murder Road, Simone St. James. It's a very old school kind of cover. What Feasts at Night, T. Kingfisher. I will read that, even though What Moves the Dead, I think the other one was called, the first in series, I did give it 3 stars. T. Kingfisher, she's either a 3-star author for me or like 4.5, 5-star author for me. So she's like always there. It's like always 3 or 4.5. So I will probably read that one. Incidents Around the House by Josh Malerman. I've heard about this. Is with the kid. It's a creepy kid one. I don't know if people liked it enough. Sleep Tight, J.H. Marquette. I've heard of it. Haven't read it. Don't think it's going to win. We Used to Live Here by Marcus Klewa. I read this. I gave it 3 stars. I realize now that I should have left space somewhere to show you my screen recording. I'll do it on this side now. I think that could win. Chuck Tingle, Bury Your Gaze. Super cool cover. And I know he's also massive. I don't think he'll win though. I Was a Teenage Slasher by Stephen Graham Jones. Also quite big, and people are saying that is fantastic. Okay, so for me, it's out of Stephen King's You Like It Darker. I haven't heard anybody talk about that particular book though, so I'm going to scrub him out. We Used to Live Here has been getting a lot of traction. It was released later in the year. Same with I Was a Teenage Slasher by Stephen Graham Jones. But also T. Kingfisher has a big fan base and has been out longer. Look, I'm voting, what am I voting? Am I voting for any of these? No, because they're both 3-star reads. So no, I'm not voting yet unless What Feasts at Night is above a 4. I think We Used to Live Here will be the winner. Debut novel. Let's see what's in the debuts. What have we got? How to End a Love Story by Yulin Kwang. I have heard people talk about this and it's a bit unusual for a love story, but I don't think it will win. We've got The Truth According to Ember by Danica Nava. I don't think that's going to win. I haven't actually heard about that. The Eyes Are the Best Part, Monica Kim. Maybe Marta by Kaveh Akbar could win. We Used to Live Here, Marcus Klewa. Yeah, okay, so it's a lot of the same ones. Welcome to the Hwanamdong Bookshop could win. The Ministry of Time, same thing. Greta and Valdin by Rebecca K. Riley. Gorgeous cover, but everyone that reviewed it didn't like it. The Book of Doors, Gareth Brown. Voyage of the Damned, Frances White. Don't think that's going to win. Who do I think is going to take this out? Probably Ministry of Time. Like I said, I've heard everybody rave about it. Or, if not that one, maybe the Hwanamdong Bookshop, if people want cozy. I'm going to go with Ministry of Time again because I tend to find sometimes those books take out both categories. Audiobook. So I think this is a great idea. I know a lot of people listen to audiobooks, and some audiobooks, like especially the ones with full casts and sound effects and stuff, they're amazing and they deserve kudos. I don't really listen to audiobooks. I did listen to Kristen Hanna's The Women and I DNF'd it. I don't think it was a particularly good audiobook either. It wasn't anything that really, I was like, wow, this is really well done. So I'm not voting in this category. Who do I think will win? I've got no clue because I haven't listened to the other ones. So if people just vote for this, even though they haven't listened to the audiobook, which I think is definitely going to happen, I think that's something that people do. I think Emily Henry is probably going to win. Okay, so we have readers of favorite young adult fantasy, YA fantasy, Heartless Hunter. Heartless Hunter by Kristen Ciccarelli, I think, is going to win. Crimson Moth is also what it's called. I hated this. This is the period blood / sexual assault book because that's the romance is sexual assault. This is the one that makes you feel like people are cooked, but this went massive. Everyone loves it. I think it's going to win. I don't even need to see the rest. My money's going on that one, which I hated. We've got Where the Library Hides, Isabel Ibanez. It's a second. It's not going to win. Don't Let the Forest In by CJ Drews. I am very interested in. It's already on my TBR. So that's one I'll definitely hope to get in for this reading vlog. Interesting. Not going to win. Brandon Sanderson, Defiant. Is that fantasy or sci-fi? It looks like a sci-fi book, but Brando Sando has a massive fan base, but I don't think they're going to vote in this category for him. Holly Black, The Prisoner's Throne. Loved her other series. This one, I only read the first. didn't continue on, and I just don't think people liked this one as much. I'm sorry, I don't think Oak was a good enough character to carry it. Wisteria, Adeline Grace, same situation. I think the first books were better than this final installment. Air by Saba Tahir, which I gave 4.5 stars. That's probably going to get my vote. Yeah. This just came out though. This is a very new, very brand new. I don't think it's had enough people reading it yet to vote, but that's getting my vote. All This Twisted Glory, Tahira Mafi. I don't think it's going to get enough votes. I read the first, didn't read that one. Reckless by Lauren Roberts. Powerless. Yeah, Powerless was a powerhouse. People went nuts. It's these Romantasy TikToks, man. I hated that too. Reckless isn't as good as the first, supposedly. Obviously, I did not read it, but I don't think people will vote for it. And Ruthless Vows by Rebecca Ross. I did read, I think I rated that one a 4 stars. I don't think it was as good as the first again, so I don't think it's going to get the votes. I think it's going to be Heartless Hunter. That is where my money is going for everyone voting. Personally, I'm voting for Air by Saba Tahir. That's my 2 bits and bobs, but let's go on to YA. YA, I probably would have read none of these. Nothing Like the Movies in Painter wasn't as good as the original, which is better than the movies, which I actually really liked. That was a bit of a banger. Gwen and Art Are Not in Love by Lex Croucher. Sapphic, Camelot kind of story, not going to win. The Grandest Game, Jennifer Lynn Barnes. People did not like it compared to the other ones in the series, so I don't think it's going to win. Alice Oseman, Heartstopper. Massive fan base. I read the first one. It's sweet. Like, I just don't want to read about teen romance, but even my daughter who doesn't like reading read this, so I think that's going to win. If Only I Had Told Her by Lauren Nowlin. I read the first book and I hated it, and I thought it was a very toxic and humble depiction of teenage love that shouldn't be romanticized, so I hope it doesn't win. Betting on You, Lynn Painter. I think too, having 2 books is going to split your fan base, so you're less likely to win because they can only pick one. Where Sleeping Girls Lie by Faraday Abike Iyamide. I think people said this is great. I don't think it's going to win. The Reappearance of Rachel Price by Holly Jackson could be a contender because people love that series, but I don't think they loved it as much as the other book. 1,000 Broken Pieces, Tilly Cole, which I read the other one and it was fine. No, I don't even know what that is. That's Not My Name by Megan Lally. Also don't know what that is. So there's 2 books there I've never even heard of. So I am not voting because I didn't read any of these. I think Heartstopper, Volume 5, will win. Then we have a non-fiction. So The Untold Story and the Rise of Disney Channel's Tween Empire, Disney High, Ashley Spencer. That's not going to win. The Backyard Burn Chronicles, Amy Tan, super cute, won't win. It's Not Hysteria. Everything you need to know about your gynecological health, but whenever told by Karen Tang. Sounds interesting. Women's health could win. John Grisham, Framed, Astonishing True Stories of Wrongful Convictions. Jim McCloskey, I don't think so. I think John Grisham's time's coming to an end. Nuclear War, Annie Jacobson, don't think so. Anxious Generation, Jonathan Haidt. Yeah, it's going to win. I'm going to vote for that too because I did read it and it was more than a 4 star. It's very popular. Literally right now, Australia is trying to make it illegal for 16-year-olds to access a lot of apps, including YouTube, which I do not agree with. Yeah, so I think that's going to win and I will be voting for it. All in Her Head by Elizabeth Cummin. Once again, about women's health. Want by Gillian Anderson. I have read this. I gave it, I think, in the end of the day, 3.5 star. It wasn't as sexy as I was anticipating. It was actually a bit sad and depressing. But it was interesting. Kate Kennedy, One in a Millennial. That looks cute. I don't think it's going to win. I haven't heard of it. The Message by Ta-Nehisi Coates. I think it's too new to win. Anxious Generation is going to win it. But see, this is what I mean. Look, there are 2 women's health books that have made it to the top 10 category. I feel like it's a lot of women that are reviewing and rating on here. I'm going to vote for the Anxious Generation because I did read it and I rated it more than a 4 stars. Memoir, I probably have read none of these. What have we got? From Here to the Great Unknown, Lisa Marie Presley, Riley Keough about Elvis. Do not want to read about it. I don't give a shit about him. Loud by Drew Afualo. I don't know who that is. Kelly Bishop, The Third Gilmore Girl, possibly. People love Gilmore Girls, and I've heard people talking about it. Whoopi Goldberg, Bits and Pieces, no love. Liz Cheney, Knife by Salman Rushdie, possibly as well, could win. In a Garden, Be Ready When the Luck Happens, no. Sociopath, a memoir, Patrick Gagney. I have heard so many people talking about this. That is actually going to be my pick for who wins. RuPaul, The House of Hidden Meanings, no. And A Well-Trained Wife, Tia Lemmings, no. I haven't read any of these. I think Sociopath is going to win. Reader's favorite history and biography. So tell me why so many categories were deleted. So graphic novels, deleted. Recipe books, deleted. Children's and middle grade, deleted. Poetry, deleted. History and biography remains. Oh, and humor. Humor was also deleted. Why are they deleting them? Does it cost them money to have extra categories? Because I just don't understand that. I don't understand why they can't just keep them in. Like I said, does it cost money to have another category? I don't get it, Goodreads. And I don't get this category. It's probably read none of these. The Bookshop, Evan Friss, don't know. Okay, Yuval Noah Harari, Nexus. I have this on my TBR and it's got a huge wait list. A huge wait. So if the wait list is anything to go by, Nexus. Challenger, Adam Higginbotham, no. American Scary, Jeremy Dauber, no idea. Kind of looks cool though. It's talking about Stephen King and Salem. It's interesting. The Demon of Unrest, Eric Larson, don't think so. Sharon McMahon, The Small and the Mighty, I don't know. Ask Not About the Kennedys, Maureen Callahan, don't think so. Women in the Valley of the Kings, Kathleen Shepherd, don't know. Elements of Marie Curie, Dava Sobel, don't know. Douglas Preston, The Lost Tomb, don't know. All right, based on, like I said, the wait list, I'm going to go Nexus. Don't know about any of the others. Am I interested in any of these? Maybe American Scary, but I'm going to be honest, I just don't care about a lot of American stuff. All right, so that's what I have seen. So the books that I am considering reading are Fantasma, Air, Don't Let the Forest In. I think, was that it? When I'm reviewing and editing, I'll put another one if it's on there. But yeah, hopefully read at least 3 of these and give you my opinion and see if it changes my vote for which book I voted for. Okay, so the next book that I read for the Goodreads Choice Awards was Fantasma. So this is 512 pages. It is by Kaylee Smith and it is considered to be a romantasy, paranormal, gothic horror. So a lot of people were comparing this to Caraval, and I definitely see the similarities. It's basically Caraval with ghosties. So in this world, you have 2 sisters and their mother dies suddenly, and turns out she was borrowing against their house. And so the younger sister, in the desperation to keep their home, enters the Caraval competition where the winner, the last surviving remaining contestant, gets a wish. So in this place, there are different paranormal beings. There are, oh my God, who were there? There were devils, phantoms, and a bunch of other stuff. I can't remember anymore, but the main ones you need to know are the phantoms and the devils. So they all get split up into teams. And so the elder sister, I don't know why I never remember names, Ophelia, she enters the competition as well in hopes to find her sister and save her sister. But unfortunately, she gets put into a different group. So she doesn't even know if her sister's there, basically. Ophelia, when her mother died, inherited necromagic. So she's a necromancer. So that is definitely to her advantage in these games. She ends up meeting a phantom and a cat named Poe. And she ends up making a deal with the phantom that he will help her survive each level to get her to the end. And if she wins, she'll get her wish. If she doesn't make it to the end, she owes him 10 years of her mortal life. So for me, once again, this just felt like a very typical romantasy TikTok book. I just don't like them. They just feel so surface level. There's no depth. This was very insta-love for me. There were a lot of like cringe moments and dialogue. The main love interest calls her Angel. So I know some people have things with different pet names. That's a pet name for this one, Angel. He also loves to use the word good girl during the spicy scenes, of which there are a lot. So our girl finds the time to get herself laid quite frequently in between tournaments or challenges, whatever you want to call them. You know, she manages to get her rocks off. Now, it feels like it's a historical time period because they're wearing corsets, they're using carriages to get along. but the dialogue, the language, the vernacular is incredibly modern. Like they'll say fuck off and things like of that nature. And it just felt jarring because at first I thought just by the language, oh, this is a modern day setting. But then the corsetry and the carriages and whatnot came into play. And I'm like, oh no, is this historical fantasy, but with modern language? So I think that's what the deal was. In terms of spice, I would call this MA. So it is open door, and they do describe bits and pieces. But for me, for an R rating, you have to have some kind of kink involved, or there have to be double penetrations and things of that nature. So it didn't have that, but it is MA, so it is a spicy book. The pacing was just off. The pacing, like I said, it was like challenge, oh, sexy times, and challenge and a sexy time. And I don't know, even though people were dying left, right and center, once again, I just didn't feel the tension. I didn't feel the fear of losing a beloved character. I didn't attach to anybody. And it's this these TikTok romantasies have a particular style and feel to them. And it's just not one that appeals to me. It just lacks depth, and I lack connection to the story because it just feels a bit silly and, like I said, surface level. I will say that the one thing I did like is that she was prepared to kill people. Like, she did kill people. And I prefer that. If you're fighting for your life and people are actively trying to murder you, I like it when the character's like, yeah, if it's you or me, I'm going to be the one that lives here. I will not rein myself in. I will fight to the death if need be and not really feel bad about it. And I prefer that. I think Katniss in the Hunger Games, she's going to have to kill people. This person did too. So I did appreciate that. Yeah, the romance just did nothing for me. There's, a twist at the end, and I kind of saw it coming, it was fine. It's a 3-star. Like, I didn't hate it. It wasn't offensive. I just didn't particularly like anything about it, and it was a very mediocre read for me. Do I think it's going to win? My God, possibly, yeah. People are going nuts about it, so I'll have a little bit more of a think about it, and then I'll once again put my top pick for who I think is going to win in this category. But yeah, I just don't get the TikTok romantasy stuff. It just doesn't, it's not my flavor. So, but I know it's very, very palatable to a lot of people. Okay guys, I'm here with an update as I have read What Feasts at Night by T. Kingfisher. So this is 151 pages, and it is gothic, historical, queer horror novella. So this follows on from her previous book, What Moves the Dead, which I gave 3 stars. So you have the main character, Alex, who is trans, and they are going back to their hometown, to their dilapidated manor shack place in the woods in this very small town. And when they arrive there, they find out that the caretaker who was taking care of the house has died. And the nature of his death is a little superstitious. So a lot of the town folks believe that he was killed by a Morai, which is this mythical being of a sort of wronged woman who will come and sit on your chest and steal the breath from your lungs. So obviously at first, Alex is dubious. He's also got his friend and the mycologist from the other book with him, but they're very background characters. It's pretty much just based on Alex, the new housekeeper that he employs, who's like a grandma, and her grandson. So when her grandson becomes ill, and then Alex starts dreaming about a woman sitting on his chest, stealing his breath, and then waking up unable to breathe, he starts investigating a little bit. Very similarly to the first book, it has that same very quiet, mellow, understated tone. And it almost makes the book feel a little bit middle grade or YA because it's not intense. It's very subtle. And there are a few descriptions of the Morai that will probably make you a bit uneasy, or it's a little bit creepy, but there's nothing inherently scary about this. It's a very mild horror. There is a lot about moths in here though, so if you don't like moths, you probably won't like this book, because the Morai is meant to be in the shape of a moth when they steal into your room to steal your breath. There were some funny lines. There's like an undercurrent of humor. It's not as funny as her books tend to be. It's just a very light sprinkling of humor now and again. For instance, there was a line there that I thought that was kind of cool, which is, may he shit pine cones in hell. So that was a very vivid description and an unpleasant situation. And there was some lovely parts when talking about grief, because obviously the caretaker has died and Alex has experienced death, and they're talking about how when you remove the deceased's possessions, it's like erasing them from the world and filling it with emptiness, which I thought was very poignant. There's also a lot about tinnitus in here because Alex is experiencing tinnitus. I think they were drawing parallels between that and just like overbearing silence that can happen in your life. And it's the same thing, like drowning out the world, but at the same time feeling weighed down by it. So in the book, it's once again, it's like they don't believe the paranormal aspect. It's like, oh, maybe it was just pneumonia, but certain things occur, and when they are put to rest, the symptoms are gone. So I feel like it's very much meant to be Mariah rather than pneumonia. But yeah, I've given it a 3 stars. Once again, it was very similar to the other book. It's pleasant, it's fine. It's not particularly thrilling or captivating for me. I think to the characters, I'm just not connected to any of them. And so therefore I just don't get invested in the stories. Like the writing's good. I like T. Kingfisher's writing. It's just this particular set of characters and stories isn't really doing much for me. I'd probably call this a cozy horror as well, if that's your jam. I don't think it's going to win the horror category after having read it now. So I'll be keeping my vote the same. Just about to go to see Moana. Okay guys, the winners have just been announced. So we're going to see who won and to see if my predictions or my votes were correct. So let's just go. All right, so I'm just going to click into it. The winning people, yay, that is who I voted for and who I thought would win. That's fantastic. All right, that is well deserved. So congratulations, winning people. I am currently listening to Marta and I'm enjoying it though. So that's fantastic. Let's go to the next one, historical fiction. The women. The women also was my choice. So yeah, that was bang on. I was correct about that. I didn't have any that I voted for. So in the end, yes, I chose not to place votes unless I read a book that was more than 4 stars. I just didn't feel right voting for a 3-star book because I just don't feel like a 3-star deserves to win. So that was my choice. So before, let's go to thriller. I think All the Colors of the Dark would be the winner. I didn't vote for anyone in this one. Oh, God of the Woods. Okay, look, a lot of people did read it. So I think, yeah, like I said, next year I'm going to check to see how many people read these books because I think that's a big indicator of what might win. I gave that one a 3 stars. It was fine. It was just a bit boring. It was a bit lackluster. The pink slime drip, paint drip made you think there was going to be a paranormal aspect, and there wasn't. It was just, I don't know, it was a bit boring. So yeah. And I didn't vote for anything in this one because everything I read in this category was a 3 stars besides the last one, At the Wedding, which I only read recently. So I just read that one. That was a 3.5. I still wouldn't have voted for it. It has to be a 4 for me to vote. And then we have romance. And I thought Wild Love might win it, but Emily Henry did. I bet you Emily Henry has more people who read it. That makes sense to me though. That was a good book. I think I gave it 4.5 stars. I'm just a bit more of an Abby Jimenez fan, so that's why I voted for Just for the Summer. But it makes sense to me. Now, Romantasy, I predicted House of Flame and Shadow because I just thought that probably has the most amount of reviews on it. Sarah J. Maas, yeah, Eddie, I think if you look at each book and you see how many people have read this book, and as long as its rating is above a 3, that's what's probably going to win. This is, I think, mostly a numbers game. And I know there's people who will vote for books too that they even haven't read just because they like the author. Okay, so I don't think this is indicative of which books are the best at all. For this one, what did I vote for? I think it was A Fate Inked in Blood. Yeah, that was my vote for this one. Fantasy, I think Emily Wilde will win. And I think Emily Wilde was my vote. Somewhere Beyond the Sea. Wow, I did not see that coming because this was a sequel. Wow, have many people even read that yet? What? Wow. Well, look, yeah, my choice was Emily Wilde, or I thought maybe even The Tainted Cup might win, but no, it was Somewhere Beyond the Sea. Okay, TJ Klune's got a lot more clout with readers than I assumed. Sci-fi, we've got Ministry of Time was my guess. I gave that book a 3 stars, so I didn't vote in the sci-fi category, which sucks because I read a lot of sci-fi. Ministry of Time, yeah, okay. So bang on the money again. So far, I have gotten 3 wrong. The mystery thriller I got wrong, Wild Love I got wrong, and Emily Wilde I got wrong. So, but I've gotten 4 right. So I've gotten more right than I've gotten wrong. All right, horror. I think We Used to Live Here is going to be the winner. I didn't vote in horror because once again, they were all 3 stars. King. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Okay. King, You Like It Darker. Have not heard of this book whatsoever. I haven't seen anybody talk about it. I feel like Stephen King obviously is just the king of horror. And people are just going to vote. I think that's a case of, yeah, people have just voted for him because he's an author they like, regardless of whether they've read the book or not. Debut novel is up next. I said Ministry of Time, again, would be the winner. I didn't vote in this category. How to End a Love Story. Yulin Kwang. Wow. I didn't see that coming. Wow, okay. Okay, that one is a full surprise for me. Next we have audiobook, and I said probably Emily Henry if it's just based on, yeah, Emily Henry, funny story. So yeah, people, I don't think, unless the audiobook is fantastic, someone tell me maybe, is it fantastic? Like the quality, the casting, the experience of it. But I think that's, the audiobook category is mostly going to be just for people to once again vote for authors they really want to see win it. So the next one is young adult fantasy, YA fantasy, and I predicted Heartless Hunter or Crimson Moth. Ruthless Vows. Wow. Wow. Did not see that. I voted for Air. Air didn't win. Wow. Okay. Look. Yeah, I guess people really went hard for that duology. I thought the first one was good. The second one was less good for me, but I thought Heartless Hunter for sure, man. I guess I was wrong. Like I said, next year I'm actually going to research so I can put in a more qualified prediction, a substantiated prediction based on data analysis. That's what I do for a living. I analyze the stock market and make educated guesses. I'll try and do that better next time. This one was just based on vibes, mostly just feelings. The next one is YA. I said Heartstopper. Yeah, like you knew it was going to happen. It's a behemoth, Heartstopper. It's just too popular. Okay, what's the next one? Nonfic, which I didn't read a lot of. Anxious Generation was my vote because I did read it and gave it 4 stars, and also my opinion. Yep, that one. It won, which does not surprise me at all. What's the next one? Memoir. I said Sociopath was my prediction. I didn't vote in this category. It was the Gilmore Girl. Look, she was also one of the tops. I thought it's either going to be the Gilmore Girl or Sociopath. It was a Gilmore Girl, so it was close, but no cigar for that one. And then we have History and Biography, and I said Nexus because that's the only book that I was interested in reading, and the wait long is so long at my library, so let's have a look. The Bookshop, A History of the American Bookstore. Okay, look, it's a book about books. Why do I get the feeling, though, that people just also, even if they don't know any of these books, they might just vote for shits and giggles, like, I've just got to pick one of these. Here's one with the books on the cover, like it's about books. I feel like that might have been the case with this one. It has a lot less votes than the other categories. Okay, so that was, the Choice Awards. How many did I get right? How many did I get wrong? I got 7 right with my predictions, and I got 8 wrong. 50-50, which look, considering how many options there was 10 to choose from, I think those are pretty decent odds just going in blind. It really was blind. I think if I'd sat there and looked at all of the reviews and ratings, you could almost predict all of the winners, to be honest. I kind of wish I'd done that now just to see how many I could have gotten even more right. I think next year, like I said, I'm going to do more research, and I might just choose a few categories and read all of the books in that top 10 of that category, so I can actually make a full-on informed decision of who I really, really believed should have been the winner, because I've read every single one. I am surprised. I've read like 700 books this year, and I still hadn't read all of the books in the categories. So I find that very surprising. Look, for the books that are sequels or the third or the fourth in the series of a series that I would have DNF'd, that makes sense to me why I haven't read it. But there were a lot of standalones in there that I'm like, yeah, I haven't read that. Romantasy, I understand why I haven't read that, because I really, the TikTok romances don't do anything for me. But in the fantasy category, by how many I hadn't read, like obviously Somewhere Beyond the Sea, I didn't read because the first book wasn't really for me. The Familiar, people weren't enjoying it, so I didn't read it. J. Christoph, I'm not a fan of his, so I didn't read it. Foxwife, hadn't got to it. The Lost Story, chose not to read it. Blackbird Oracle was a fifth in a series, I wasn't going to read that one. The Night Ends with Fire, though, hadn't read that. Voyage of the Damned, same with that one. And A Sweet Sting of Salt, hadn't read that one either. So yeah, there was quite a few in there that I hadn't read. Obviously every other one on there I have read or DNF'd. But yeah, that was this year's Goodreads. Let me know if you agreed with the winners or not. It's a mixed bag, I'd say. Whether you think they should bring back all of the categories. Let's bring them all back, guys. All of them. More categories means more winners, means more books that people might go out and buy because they won in that category. Yeah, that's everything. Until next time, stay reading, guys.